Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the most powerful hive ever, Josh Finney.
Man, what a week.
It was definitely a week. It was definitely a what am I kind of watching here? This mission kind of ended really abruptly, and now I don't know how.
This mission ended, and now I'm caught in PR controversies. Yeah, I was hoping to come in and jump straight into talking about the story, but we gotta sit down for a serious fireside chat here at the beginning.
Again.
It's been a while since we had to do one of these. To Bungie's credit, it's been almost 2 years. It's been almost 100 episodes since the last controversy we had to take time to talk about.
Yeah.
If you guys remember, that's how we went into Christmas break a couple of years ago.
Oh, God.
That was how we kicked off the season leading into the Witch Queen. Was a very, very big PR controversy. That the title of the piece that, and you're going to hear her name a lot tonight, Rebecca Valentine wrote for IGN, "The Battle for Bungie's Soul, Inside the Studio Struggle for a Better Work Culture." And of course, that led to Bungie's head of HR resigning.
Shocker.
Pretty much the same day.
Yeah.
Well, now we're talking about HR at Bungie yet again. And no, it's not over the very ill-advised tweet that they wrote this week.
No. Oh,
we're,
no.
We're gonna start with that one tonight. We're not gonna say too much on this. And here's the reason. It's not that it's not worth talking about. It's that as two white guys, we are not the guys to provide the commentary on this. I'm sure there are plenty of Hispanic content creators out there who can speak to this. I know Miss 5000 Watts had some stuff to say about it on Twitter. I would encourage you to listen to people of color about why the term Latinx was not being well received. From what I understand and gather from people I talk to, it's that it's misappropriation of spellings, and basically like that word doesn't exist in Spanish, essentially. It's getting rid of the vowels and things like that. Like Latino and Latino work perfectly fine. Like, why are you trying to shove something on us that we don't want? Very much seen as like a colonial way of trying to appropriate Spanish culture.
Some of the Hispanic people I know, actually, they like really hate it, and they're like, it's just white people trying to make people feel better.
It's white people trying to make themselves feel better, essentially. I personally didn't know that people were still trying to use this terminology, because a couple years ago, when everybody was trying to use it, like around like 2019, 2020, it seemed like just about everybody I know hated it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been a lot going on there, but there's been a lot of co-opting of the outrage over this, because I don't think that it's performative outrage. I actually think like this is a really important time for us to speak up with a seemingly very progressive company, right? We've seen, their initiatives that they've done, such as Black Lives Matter, Trans at Bungie, Pride at Bungie, Asian and Pacific Islander. When we had Asian Pacific Islander month, they did stuff with that. And this was very much seen as like the next step in that. So I've seen there's been a lot of commentary about people who don't know about those Bungie initiatives being like, "Oh, this is just performative." Like, no, not really. This is what they do. Like, they do this. This is a thing that's led in the workplace. That piece that was written may not have been, but like this is an initiative that happens within the company. And so it's like, okay, I understand. Like, I get that part of it. But there's been some appropriation of this, like trying to turn this in from like the far right, trying to turn this into like anti-trans and like just spewing a lot of bigotry.
Yeah.
Being like, "Oh, go woke, go broke." And it's like, no, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. Like, if you're co-opting or amplifying any of that, shut the fuck up, please. Like, kindly shut the fuck up. Because that's not what is going on here. Like, this is simply that the wrong words and the wrong, descriptors were used here. And the fact that we are now on day 3 of this and it has not been addressed is a problem. There was a lot going on. Oh, Bungie's hiding the replies. Bungie's hiding the replies. They did hide some replies. A lot of the ones I saw were like people that were like making memes that were like making fun of the whole situation and like making fun, like using like the Gus Fring meme, like, oh, like when you call somebody a slur, or when you call them Latinx, and like that's like really fucked up. I think to like go and just be like posting that and like spam replying things like that is really fucked up.
Yeah.
So this is where social media is not helping. This is a classic example of social media is like completely blowing something super out of proportion. I don't think there was any sort of malicious intent with this, but that started Bungie's very bad, no good PR week. Because then today, I woke up to a wonderful piece this morning that was sent to me by a couple friends, pretty much like right as it came out from Rebecca over at IGN. Former Bungie HR manager is suing for wrongful termination after she reported potential racial bias. She alleges her recommendations for sensitivity training were met with hostility and denial. And she's actually suing them. There's a trial date set. Like, this is actually happening.
I mean, if it's true, good for her, right? I mean,
right. And I mean, we're gonna read through this article because this isn't something like, oh, I'm just gonna sum up off of the headline. Like, there's actually there's some information in here that we need to go through. But in a complaint filed this year, in the state of Washington, plaintiff Ingrid Alm recounts that she was hired by Bungie in May 2022 as an HR manager, coming into the job with over a decade of experience. Just a few months into her employment, she was instructed to investigate the performance of a particular employee referred to as James Smith. But when she sat down to speak with him, he allegedly pointed out he was the only black employee on a team of 50 individuals and expressed he felt he was being singled out and racially targeted by his supervisor. Pause.
Great.
We're going to pause here. This is happening roughly 6 months after the PR fiasco that we talked about. This is roughly 6 months after the HR chief stepped down and everything. Wonderful. For those of you keeping score at home, it's been 6 months. We thought this shit was dealt with. It was not. Alm goes on to say she shared this information with her supervisor and recommended that Smith's supervisor receive diversity training, but alleges that her recommendation was met with hostility and denial. She says she was told the individual she was recommending take the training had been there for a long time and are, quote, highly regarded, and her recommendation was denied. During a follow-up discussion about the incident sometime after, she additionally was told by her supervisor that she didn't want to touch those conversations with a 10-foot pole. Just what you want to hear out of your HR people, by the way. That's exactly what you want to hear from the higher-ups. HR is there to protect the company, not you, by the way. Following this, she alleges that Bungie recommended terminating Smith's employment. Holmes says she disagreed, saying this would be racial bias, and in September approached Bungie's Director of Equity and Inclusion, Dr. Courtney Benjamin, for advice. Benjamin suggested terminating Smith would be too risky considering the evidence and advised a written warning be given to him instead. However, Alm alleges that her supervisor became extremely angry at her for having reached out to Dr. Benjamin and gave her a written warning over email. Alm's supervisor also called Benjamin to apologize for Alm approaching her, supposedly telling Benjamin that she didn't want her to think she was a racist. Later in September, Alm claimed she was placed in the needs improvement category during a review, despite previously having excellent reviews from both peers and clients, and was told by her supervisor to look for an off-ramp or an exit from the job. Shortly after, Alm says she found her email and Bungie platform access cut off without explanation, and despite multiple attempts to contact her supervisor, received no response for several days. At the end of the month, she was informed her resignation had been accepted, despite Alm insisting she had not intended to resign and wanted to keep her job. She said she declined to sign a document stating she voluntarily resigned, and that an email she sent to the company's chief people officer, Holly Barbakovi, explaining the situation went unanswered. So this is fucking wild. This is why. This is absolutely batshit that this happened basically over the summer last year in 2022, because she was hired in May and she's gone by the end of September. This happened on an extremely quick timeline, about 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
That is batshit that this happened this quickly, but also like that amount of people were like, yeah, we're okay with covering this up, essentially.
Jeez.
I'm trying to figure out why the person who felt that he was being singled out and racially targeted needed to have a letter put on his file. Like, why was a written warning being given to him?
Right. Oh my
Why?
gosh.
Like, why is he the one getting the written? That's what I'm trying to figure out here. Why is he the one getting the written warning and not the supervisor that was supposedly harassing him?
Right.
And, you know, racial targeting, why is
Yeah.
that happening? I want to know, like, who on earth is that important that you need to protect like that? There is nobody that is that. I promise you, there's not a single person that works in games that is not replaceable. I promise you. And you're
This
being
is
a
just
racist shithead about things, sorry, you're gonna lose your job. Like, that's just the way that these things go. Like, that's not being woke. That's not being, a social justice warrior. That's the way that it is. If you're a piece of shit, you're gonna lose your job.
yeah.
Why is the person who felt they were being targeted the one getting the note put on their file?
Right. Oh
So,
my
and then
gosh,
the
man.
HR person is getting in trouble with their supervisors and like the director of equality and just what the fuck. So this is what Bungie's response to Alm's claim is brief and does not include an alternative narrative of events to counter hers. Bungie instead either flatly denies almost every part of her narrative without further context or denies them with the statement that Bungie, quote, lacks knowledge or information sufficient to form a belief as to the truth or falsity of the allegations, end quote. Bungie is represented in this case by Mero de Pablo Haddad, a Fox Rothschild lawyer who professes expertise in getting wrongful termination lawsuits dismissed and developing strategies that serve my clients' financial goals and minimize costs when litigation is unavoidable. Alm is suing Bungie for retaliation and wrongful termination and asking for recourse in the form of lost past and future wages, damages for emotional distress, and attorney fees. A jury trial is set for January 22nd, 2024.
Jeez.
IGN has reached out to Bungie for comment, did not receive a response in time for publication. Alm did also did not respond to a request for comment. What in the
Shocker.
fuck? What the fuck is happening here? What the fuck is happening, Bungie? Like, this is, I don't want to be like, this is a he said, she said. It very much is. And let me tell you, the he said is very much more powerful than the she said of Bungie. Because I'm sorry, like, if it's this and they're detailing the different steps that they took, and they're naming names here, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Like, of who they went to. I'm actually really surprised their supervisor isn't mentioned by name here. I'm inclined, and given the past indiscretions at Bungie with human resources and on a level of protecting people who have had racial insensitivities or, just are flat out racist, that was what that whole other report was about, was racism and sexism. We're still dealing with it. It's still happening. And some people are going to hand away this off as, oh, this was like 16 months ago. Like, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Like, there is a timeline here to follow, and unless something was lost in translation, I'm still very confused as to how they were trying to insist all the way up to the director of equity and inclusion was going to put a written warning be given to the employee that thought that he was being racially targeted.
Jeez. Okay.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I mean, this is just this is a huge mess, is what it sounds like.
This is a shitstorm, is what this is. And there was no response to this when the last piece came out, and Bungie had to reply. Pete Parsons personally responded to that by that afternoon.
Yeah,
but they have been quiet on. They've been quiet on both their the Latinx controversy and this week. They've been quiet on both. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see something get dropped tomorrow on Friday once this episode's available naturally.
Yeah, of course.
Hope that it gets buried in the Friday news dump. But this is pretty serious. Like, this was front page news this morning.
Yeah.
With good reason. This is a company that constantly tries to paint itself as being very inclusive, very progressive, and at like the forefront of, employee rights and things like that. And then this is the second story that we've had in 2 years.
Yeah.
Like this. The last one was a much more damning expose, but still.
Yeah, and I think here's the thing. I think Bungie overall does do a pretty good job, like we said at the beginning. But it's so hard to weed out the bad people when you have 1,000 people or more working for you, right? And like, I mean, I don't know which.
And when you clearly have people in corporate communication and in HR protecting those people.
Yeah, yeah, that's like, obviously, like, I mean, I know the HR person resigned, but I wonder how much that they were forced out for this, right? Like,
I mean,
you
they
better
they
resign
essentially
or we're
say
gonna fire
they
you.
basically said they were forced out.
Yeah.
The
So,
the exact the exact words here is that she was informed her resignation had been accepted despite insisting she had not intended to resign and wanted to keep her job. She declined to sign a document stating she voluntarily resigned, and that an email she sent to the chief people officer explaining the situation went unanswered.
mhm.
So yeah, Alm was essentially fired.
Yeah.
She was basically fired because she wasn't going to back down on this. And like for starters, that's the kind of HR person you want. By the way, that's
Mhm.
somebody who clearly is caring more about the people than the company.
Yeah.
And of course, the company doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Their HR is ultimately there to protect the company.
Yeah.
In reality, it should be the other way around. And so few and far between, it's not. And this is, I wish this was the first time we were hearing stories about this in this industry. These are more and more common.
Yeah.
And I think it hits a little harder when it's a studio that you follow. Like I don't want to say this arbitrarily, but when we hear about things like this happening at like an Activision or a conglomerate like Activision or EA or Ubisoft or something, it's like, oh my god, like that's a huge story, but it's like, well, those are companies of thousands and thousands of people. Like, or we hear about like, oh, at some of these small indie studios, like the director will be like a real piece of shit or something. You know, that's happened how many times, how many dozens of times over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
It's a little different when it's a studio that you cover week to week, I think.
Yeah.
And one that is pretty transparent and pretty open with their, with their fan base. I think it hits a little bit closer to home.
Mhm.
So I don't really think there's a whole lot more to say here, less us talk in circles about it. It's pretty cut and dry. You can read Rebecca's awesome reporting here. Kotaku did some reporting on it too. Ethan Gatch over there did some. I think his was from a couple of years ago though. Did some
Yeah.
stuff, and I think Luke Plunkett, he was still there, did some reporting on it. Don't really have anybody else that I recommend. Like Rebecca is pretty much, short of Jason Schreier, is probably the best in the industry at getting stories like this, and doing them detailed, not just
Yeah.
like, oh, he said, she said. Like, no, there's like actual, like, this is what is in the lawsuit. This is what's in the criminal complaint. Like we waited for publishing. Like, so clearly they've had the story for a few days.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it came to light after the controversy on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But also just like a court filing, like people are going to notice a court filing if it's like, oh, it's for Bungie,
Yeah.
and they're not going after a cheater. They're being named as a defendant this time.
Yeah. That's rough. Good for her though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not gonna. I'm sure that's not gonna be cheap to take him on. So, but I mean, if she wins, like, good for her, man.
And that's part of what she's seeking in restitution is, lawyer fees, but past and future wages,
Mhm.
that she can't earn because I would imagine she's blacklisted in the industry. I would
Yeah.
imagine no one in the industry wants to hire her. It's probably hard to get a job in tech at all, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of like the kiss of death, especially from a studio as well known as Bungie.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, this really sucks that we have to keep talking about stuff like this, especially with some company that we love. But
yeah, but I mean, like nobody's immune to criticism or to shitty business practices, and
yeah,
we may not want to talk about them, but we're going to talk about it.
yeah,
Otherwise, we're carrying water.
right.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, at least here's the thing: at least like that person is gone, or those people are gone, supposedly. So,
well, so that's what I'm trying to figure out, because there's no indication that the people that Alm was wanting to speak to are actually gone. This happened months after the last controversy where the head of HR resigned. This is later in the timeline. That was in 2020 and 2021. This took place in the summer of 2022. So these people are not in fact gone. The only person who's gone is the one who's suing Bungie.
Oh, okay. I guess I
Yeah.
misunderstood you.
Yeah, when I was saying like the bad actors that were talked about in the original massive piece in December 2021, those have been flushed out. Those are gone.
Yeah.
Those people are gone. Not the person who apparently was making the racial remarks here, who is unnamed.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Well, I hope a story comes out to say that they're done, because that's ridiculous if they're
this
not.
is insane, and I mean honestly, like at this point, the person who was supervising our HR employee here, who's filing the complaint,
Mm-hmm.
needs to be looked at by, and they need to bring in outside people from the company
Mm-hmm.
to thoroughly do a non-biased review
Yeah.
of their HR and their internal business practices. Like of course, this is no surprise here for me. Like, listen, I've been saying it for a while now. We've seen it go across tons of other industries. Fucking unionize, man, because you can't get retaliated on like this, or at least you can. Like, there's some guarantees in there.
Yeah.
You have a union that'll fight for you and things like that for wrongful termination. This is another example, as far as I'm concerned. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just sad, man. It's sad when people get treated like that.
it's not great. It's not great.
Allegedly, I guess we have to say, technically, until it is over.
Yeah, I mean, and like we said, it is technically a he said she said right now, but I mean, as far as the evidence here is pretty damning.
Yeah.
The one side of the story we're hearing is pretty damning, and the fact that Bungie really didn't refute it. It was just like, oh well, that's not true. Like, that was about the equivalent of what they said.
Yeah. I think too, though, Bungie is trying. Maybe Bungie's investigating, and their internal investigation isn't over, and
Maybe.
I don't know, man.
I
It's
guess
so
my problem with that is I guess I don't trust an internal review at this
well.
point.
Nobody does, but I'm just saying that they have to do that.
When your director of inclusion is by name in the lawsuit, that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
as a business, like, you kind of like at least
you
need
have to.
you have to just to if they're gonna get sued, like, they have to do that, right?
I
And
mean,
then
it sounds like they're probably doing like the Roger Goodell treatment of like, oh yeah, we investigated, and they like kind of did the bare minimum. Like, an outside I really hope the court appoints like an outside investigator to come in and like check email logs and things like that. Like, let's figure out what the real story is here.
yeah,
So there's going to be more developments on this. Obviously, we probably won't get more until until the final shape is coming out. We won't get more.
yeah. When's the
So
court
look forward to
date?
talking about it then.
When's the court date?
January 22nd, 2024.
Oh man, that's such a rough time to do that.
And it's a jury trial too. So
Yeah, man.
we shall see. We shall
That's,
see.
man.
Actual in-game events this week.
In-game
Corey,
events.
what'd you think? What'd you think of that final mission?
Um,
The
it was.
mission. We're not the cutscenes. The actual mission itself.
I mean, it was cool. I mean, I don't know. I'm like not really impressed by Bungie's mission design anymore, because like they always have great missions. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go shoot some stuff and do some things. And uh,
I
I
thought it was great.
I mean, I agree, it was great. I just like they do so many great, impressive things that I'm just like I'm not. I don't know. I'm expecting that level of
I
especially this
gen
season. I feel like this season's been really good.
this season's been kind of like all over the place, and I want to talk about the overall season narrative here in just a minute. And like the mission design, because we got a couple of unique missions, right?
Yeah.
This particular one, I actually thought was a bit of a challenge. I did it solo. I thought it was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
I actually died and had to restart it. I
Yeah.
can't. Last time I did that during a story mission.
Yeah,
Um,
I had to. I died a couple times in this mission.
I thought this was really cool, though. I thought it was awesome that we fought the Leviathan Eater.
Mhm.
Hearing how scared Imaru was during it was awesome.
Yeah,
Like, he's literally begging the Guardian to flee with him, which
I
is
know.
shocking.
I know.
And Eris is basically like, you sit your ass down, you stay right there.
Yeah, Eris is pretty great.
I mean, God, more or less phenomenal. She's phenomenal in the role. this might be like her defining performance as Eris, and we've been hearing her for like 8 years now as
Yeah.
Eris.
Yeah.
When we first heard her, oh no, God, we're coming up on 9 years.
Yeah.
In December, it'll be 9 years since we started hearing Eris in game.
I know, man. Too
That's
long, man.
crazy. This is crazy though. This clearly was, now you look at it
Yeah.
and you're like, yeah, this is kind of a natural place for Eris' story to end up at.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the mission. I thought the mission was really cool that, like, you have to go and you have to be in her bubble. And imagine my surprise when Knights and Thrall started running in there and I was not prepared. That was my first death, was 2 Knights with swords.
2 Knights
And
with
then
swords, yeah.
imagine the Leviathan Eater not standing in one place on the second phase and shooting walls of fire at you and fire tornadoes. And I ran out of every kind of ammo. I had a primary of death in the end.
Yeah, I think I definitely ran out of secondary. I had some heavy, but it's like, I mean, I had two rockets, so I'm like, what am I going to do with rockets? This was a dumb weapon plan.
Yeah, I don't know that too many heavy weapons were really helping in there. I went in with an LMG, a trace, and a scout. No, I went in with an auto on my first run, and then I ended up swapping my auto for a. I ended up running double special, hoping that I would maybe generate some more heavy, but I ran a shoddy for the Thunderdome part because it was one shotting the Knights.
Yeah.
Very quickly ran out of ammo there too, though, so that
Yeah.
was a bit of an issue.
Side tangent about shotguns. They need more, like, you need to be able to carry more ammo in some of these shotguns, man. Not that the weapons, not that secondary ammo was dropping or anything, but like, I'm just tired. And this is a me thing. I know it's probably perfectly balanced the way that Bungie wants it to be, but like, I'm a shotgunner, Josh. Okay,
that makes sense.
I need some bullets. Okay,
I had 25 bullets in my shoddy for what it was worth. It did not last me very long.
it needs at least 40.
You're fucking wild. You're out of you are absolutely out of your mind. No way. No way. Boo. Get out of here. Get out of here. Put on your special ammo reserves. You don't need 40 shotgun bullets.
Yeah, I do. I need it. I need to run and gun, Josh.
So I think I think everybody agrees this was a good mission. This was a well done mission. It's kind of what we expect for these season finales at this point. Just like the one that we had where we're trying to save Asha from the Taken last season. That was a cool mission.
Yeah.
The one where we see Amanda Holiday die was a cool mission where you're fighting the Tormentor. That was really cool. We've had the Exorcism. We've had a bunch of them over the years that have been really, really cool.
Yeah, I actually think the seasonal stuff in general has been pretty good.
It's been good, but this season, and Bife was making this point, and I didn't really understand it because I didn't get a chance to play it until later on in the day. This is showing the limitation with the seasonal model, though.
I agree.
So the main source of complaining for me comes from the cutscene after. And I want to be really clear. This is a cool cutscene. This is an awesome cutscene.
It's too short.
But the abruptness of where it ends is equivalent to like a crash test dummy. It hits the wall when you're going like 80 miles an hour and just cuts off. And
literally,
there is a whole like second half of that scene that you need that is relegated to a lore page that I would say at least 85% of the player base is never going to read.
Oh yeah,
you go and listen to that radio message and there's a whole chunk just missing that you need to know to really grasp what's going on. Like the shit that happens on that lore page, which we're going to read for Lore Corner, we're going to do Lore Corner a bit earlier in the episode tonight, is actually super important. It's some of the most important Hive lore that we've gotten in the last couple of years.
It's so important that Bife made a 19-minute video on it today. Or at least released it today.
It's so frustrating because it's such a cool cutscene. Okay, you get there, Ikora transmats in with Savathun's body. They tell Imaru to res her, and he's like, "Oh, what?" And so he just goes ahead and does it. And Savathun starts, kind of mouthing off. She see, "Oh, Eris, it's so nice to see your mask slip." And Eris, the sword she's holding is Night Terror. It's the sword from Shadowkeep.
Yeah.
She takes it and slashes Savathun's throat and absorbs her power. So she absorbs the eons of power of Savathun, briefly becoming the most powerful hive ever to exist.
Yeah.
And we don't understand how important this is at the moment, okay? Because the cutscene doesn't really do it justice. What she ends up doing, we find out in the lore piece, is she severed Xivu Arath from her throne world.
Yeah. How do you do
She
that?
made her mortal.
That's
This was the perfect
so
time to
crazy.
show us Xivu Arath. This was the perfect time. Like, you couldn't visually show us Xivu getting kicked out of her throne world.
Yeah, man, that was
Like,
an
not only
interesting
that, but the
tactic.
whole conversation that follows after, because Imaru brings Savathun back right after we fade to black.
Yeah. Which people
So,
don't know because like they don't show it, and people are going to be like if they only play like the seasonal content or even just like the main story and they think Savathun's dead, right? Like
yeah.
next in the final shape when she comes back or maybe next season they're going to be like, "Wait, I thought she was dead."
Yep. And that's one of my big things. So I mean, like, the radio message afterwards definitely confirms that she is alive. But it's like, how did we get there? So we're gonna read the lore here. I apologize. I have to read this off of my phone because I had to take pictures of it because the API is still not updated. We are on week 7 of the season for those keeping score at home.
Why are they
7
waiting
weeks.
so long?
I have no idea. 7 weeks into the season, and we still don't have the lore for the season for either of the lore books. You cannot read either of the lore books in game, and it's
That's ridiculous.
massively frustrating.
That's
So this is what's
ridiculous.
called a deal's a deal. We're doing lore corner right here, right now.
Lore
We're doing it before.
corner.
We're doing it before the Schwab tonight. The air still sizzled with dissipating soul fire as the Guardian and Ikora knelt beside Eris. An eruption of light illuminated the thick smoke behind them, and Savathun rose again, laughing. I suppose I had that coming, the towering god said as she rubbed her renewed throat. Slowly, she tilted her head. Something's different, she said carefully. I don't feel her. Imaru darted up to Savathun's eye level. After she took your power, Eris called up Xivu's throne world and did something that cut her off from it. He floated to Savathun's shoulder and glared down at Eris. Banished from her own throne world, Savathun cackled gleefully as she approached. Eris, you overachiever, how I love you. I wound you up and you ran right over her. Savathun crouched, peering at Eris's collapsed form with intense curiosity. I'm surprised expending that much power didn't kill you outright, she said, though it explains why you're back in that awful little meat body of yours. Eris propped herself up on one elbow. Ikora moved to help her rise, but Eris waved her off. Our bargain is complete, she said. Your sister has been dealt with and you live again. Now, Eris demanded, her uncovered eyes glowing fiercely. Tell us how to follow the witness. Tell you, Savathun frowned, her voice edged with disappointment. I already showed you. Ikora leapt to her feet, roaring void energy, distorting the air around her. She took a measured step towards Savathun. No tricks, no riddles, no lies twisted around the truth, she said, her voice firm. Tell us now, or I don't have any reason to let you leave here alive. Savathun slowly
Jesus.
drew herself to her full height and grinned down at Ikora, spreading her wings wide. Eris may have managed an interesting sword logic stunt, but I have lost none of my power. She began to hover, her talons dragged across the ground as she floated towards the warlock. You are in no position to stop me. The guardian rose from Eris's side. I am, they said. Savathun paused for a long moment, her ossified face unreadable. Finally, she sighed. Just when you were starting to impress me, she said as she closed her wings and stooped to Ikora's height. Imaru bobbled awkwardly to keep level with her. We both need to stop the witness, and to that end I have given you what I promised, she said slowly. You will find you have it when you are ready. Like Eris said, our bargain is complete. There is no need for drama. Ikora gritted her teeth. Savathun shrugged. Pout all you like, Ikora, she said. It's not a trick, and if you won't take my word for it, then... Savathun looked around the ritual space of her throne world. Her eyes settled on Imaru, and she smiled. Take him. What? Sputtered Imaru. Savathun ignored him. Take Imaru, my loyal ghost, my connection to the light, she continued, dropping to one knee in supplication. I leave him with the vanguard willingly, so if you would rather give me my final death than stop the witness. Savathun closed her claws in a fist. Crunch, she purred. Capiche? Imaru flew between Savathun and Ikora. Don't I get a say in this? He shouted. No, Savathun laughed. You have your orders, and the rest of you. She gestured at Ikora, the guardian, and Eris, who had drawn herself unsteadily to her feet. Don't mess this up. The witness wants to sweep our pieces from the board, and we're having such a lovely game. Savathun turned, wings trailing like a gown, and Ikora took a half step forward. The guardian was at her side in an instant. Eris placed a hand on Ikora's shoulder. Don't. Take care of yourself, Eris, Savathun said. It was such fun seeing your mask slip. The delighted laughter of the Queen of Lies echoed throughout the ritual chamber as she vanished down the long hallway.
So I have a quick question or a quick kind of thing
Let's go.
before
Let's go. We're done. What's the question?
This is, if I am recalling maybe correctly, or maybe I missed something in some of the lore stuff. This is kind of the first time the Guardian has been directly referred to in some sort of lore, correct? Like in terms of like being a part of the story that they're telling.
There's been other instances. This is the first where it's like the direct storyline that is currently going that we have been referred to my recollection.
Yeah.
Because if you guys recall, the piece that we love reading so much on this show, Gallarhorn, directly features the Guardian. And I understand why we don't see more of the Guardian in the lore, and it's to avoid situations I think like this where we go, well, we're in it, why didn't we get to experience it?
Yeah.
Something like, us giving the Gallarhorn to Randy is one thing, okay?
I need to see that too, though.
Us not seeing the other half of an important conversation is another. Summarizing some of this in a radio message doesn't do anything either. If you're playing with a group, people are always talking and this and that. I'm actually really glad I did this solo because I would have been infuriated if people around me were talking during this.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't have our Guardian getting ready to square off with Savathun again is such robbery, and also seeing Eris's unmasked eyes.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much here, and we needed like another 75 to 90 seconds. Is what we needed.
I want to see Eris's unmasked eyes.
I don't understand why this isn't part of the cutscene.
Right.
That is my biggest complaint here. This is something, and this continues to be an issue that plagues Bungie, of important moments being relegated to lore pieces.
Well, this happened last season.
Refresh my memory.
The like when you finished, or was it the second to last mission or the last mission where like they dropped the traveler stuff, or the witness's origins in the traveler?
That was at least a cutscene, though.
Yeah, but I mean, it was one of the animated ones, but like,
I mean, that's still better than this. I guess that's what I'm getting at, is like, I would have taken an animated cutscene. I would have taken this being tacked on to the end of this. Like, this is pretty important information. The witnesses stuff, and mind you, the witnesses cutscene is at least on the timeline that you can view in game.
Yeah,
you can go watch that at any time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because I've actually gone and watched it once or twice this season because it's so good.
It is really good.
It's just, it blows my mind. And like, this is information that's pretty key leading into Final Shape. We're at the end of 3 seasons now. We've got 1 season left. And you're going to tell me that we couldn't get this conversation in the cutscene.
Right. I just don't.
This is the same problem we had with Sagira as a major character dying off screen.
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm really concerned about the story. Like, this is what I was afraid of when they announced that the Final Shape was it, right? Like,
yeah.
And then the episodes afterwards start something new, technically, or, wrapping it up or whatever. It's like,
yeah,
where this is the last season is coming. We have 7 more missions to resolve some of this stuff, or like put everybody in a position to kind of know what's going on, or at least ask, more intelligent questions about what's going on? Like,
I would not. I'm going to say this after this mission. I do not expect there to be a ton of like super big lore revelations next season. I very much think it is assembling the Avengers. It's assembling the team, getting us to the point that we see in the reveal trailer of the Guardian flying the ship into the portal
mhm,
with the. You see the fleet there. You see Cabal. You can see Cabal ships. You see Guardian ships. You see. I'm sure that Mithrax's catch is right off screen. Like everybody's ready to go. Among the plot threads we still have to deal with, Xivu Arath is now mortal. Okay.
mhm,
Is Eris truly free of the hive corruption? Okay. Aramis, what's going on with her? We haven't checked in with our Elixni friends in quite a while. What's going on with Mithrax? We kind of need to know that. What's going on with him and Ido? How is Osiris taking this? I'm pretty sure Osiris is going to have to be a huge part of next season now.
mhm.
What's the status of the Awoken? We still haven't broken the curse on the Dreaming City. There is some evidence this week that I think kind of points us in the direction we're going to go next season or at the very end of this season. There is still one more lore piece and 3 more radio messages to come this season.
Mhm.
Not inspiring a lot of confidence. I really hope there's another animated cutscene in there somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not.
Back in Season of the Lost, I want to take us back to this for a minute. We're going to go back a couple years to right before the Witch Queen. In the room adjacent to the helm, when you jump through the portal and you go to the Dreaming City, and Savathun's crystal was there.
Mhm,
In Mara's little antechamber, that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it the antechamber. There is an Ahamkara egg.
mhm.
You can never get into that room, but there was one there. The final card that we get for the Deck of Whispers for the Major Arcana is called the Wish. Are we finally going to get the 15th wish? After all these years, are we finally going to break the curse of the Dreaming City? Because if you think about it, there is no reason for the murder battery to exist anymore. Savathun has long been dead. Xivu
Yeah.
Arath was taking over the tithe. Xivu Arath is now cut off from the throne world, which means she doesn't need the tithes anymore.
Mhm.
So I think it's high time we broke the curse of the Dreaming City.
I
Now,
think it's
for
happening.
in-game posterity reasons, the cycle will probably continue because there's too much content tied to it.
Mhm.
But I think that's an intriguing way to think about this. Is what if it's as simple as that? It's as simple as Mara revealing that she has the Ahamkara egg, and that's how we follow through. A baby Ahamkara grants us the wish to travel through the portal. If it's that simple, I might actually bang my head against the wall, but also be like really happy because hey, space dragons.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's ride one. Let's do some Panzer Dragoon stuff in here.
oh, that comes in Destiny 3, baby. Of all the things that I think you have to try and deal with next season, I feel like the Dreaming City and probably Aramis are the 2 chief ones. It really feels like they took Xivu Arath, and this was like their way of like, we've dealt with her, but we're punting her down the road as a way to keep the hive in the story.
Mhm.
I suspect we're dealing with her probably in that hive episode. And this is my hope for episodes, is that they've said that they're going to be more cinematic than ever before. You have to deliver on that at this point. This was a really big bummer to me because, and I feel like it's a fear that I have that it's a harbinger of things to come. Because, and I think that part of that is because we started getting these awesome animated cutscenes, and like that stuff would have been lore in the past,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's awesome that we're getting it given to us because those are big moments. I can't help but think to certain stories that I would love to see animated like that, such as Rolk's path to becoming a disciple. I think would be amazing to see as one of those. But I'm still really happy I got to read it. And that's not an essential story to understand. This is something that is tied to a seasonal narrative that our guardians, and I probably wouldn't be as upset if our fucking guardian wasn't a part of this scene. And it clearly was taking place the second it faded to black.
Yeah.
That's my biggest problem with this.
Yeah.
And if this is a one-off thing, fine, but history tells me this isn't a one-off thing. I do fear that I'm making a little bit too big of a deal out of this. But it's because I don't want to see this keep happening. it was bad enough when you killed Sagira off screen. We were all upset about that. We should be equally as upset about stuff that directly features our Guardian that is the current seasonal storyline is not being shown to us
Yeah.
when it's information like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even take away, like, showing, and I think it would have been great, like, oh, our conversation ends, and then that's when we get our first glimpse of Zivu.
Yeah.
That would have been so cool if we could have seen that. We forget we still haven't seen her in game.
Yeah.
We've seen like concept art, if that. We've seen her sketched out in the lore book, in some of the Grimoire books, and
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Yeah.
We've never actually seen Zivu. And she's been in one of those animated cutscenes, I think, too. One or two of those. But if you're gonna voice a character, you need to actually show us the character. That's the point that I've gotten to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really sad that, and I understand there is so much pressure on the final shape, and I probably wouldn't be drilling this home as much if this wasn't dealing with stuff that, like, oh my god, like, this is kind of setting up like that final sprint.
Mm-hmm.
As well as, I think, putting a little bit of content off for episodes. Like, Savathun is almost certainly back in episodes.
Yeah.
In episode 2 or 3, whichever one is Hive themed, I think it's 3. She's almost certainly coming back for that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Vanguard basically says in the audio message, like, we don't know where she is. She has disappeared.
Great.
Yeah, she could be chilling on Throne World or whatever, and you kind of have to take her at her word that she's not going to do anything. That, if she wages war on the Guardians or on the city or anything, like, that's it. Like, they can kill her.
Yeah.
And I think even Imaru at this point is like, I don't really want to be a part of this. Like, now he's kind of, he's without a home. Like, he's probably going to hang out with Eris now. There's another, we talk about the lore books not being accessible to read online. There's one where he muses, like, well, if shit goes sideways, maybe I can just be like Finch. Maybe I can just do the free agent thing with him.
Yeah.
I really hope, with Festival of the Lost coming up, I really hope that, because it was Glint the first time, then it was Glint and Finch. I really hope that they drag Amaru along this year, because I think that would be hilarious.
Dude, that'd be great
to hear him have to get along with those two. And it's like, it opens, this also opens up the avenue for more storytelling.
Yeah.
With Imaru and him being, kind of a connection to the Hive still. Like, I guess, like, kind of wrapping up final thoughts on this last mission and, like, the season as a whole. I really, really, really hope that we're done with the Hive for a while. We've had so much Hive in the last several years because you look at the major expansions of Destiny 2, and you had the base, which, they tried to give, the Cabal the leading role in that one, but the Hive, still had a role to play. You have Curse of Osiris, which they're not in. You have Warmind, which is a Hive-centric one. You have Forsaken. They're kind of like, they're not like secondary or anything, but they are on the Tangled Shore in a pretty big way.
Yeah.
Then we started getting the seasonal activities. They had a whole expansion in Shadowkeep. They were the focus of Arrivals, them and the Taken. Focus of Arrivals, of Hunt, of sorry, I'm trying to go through my mind of all the different things that we've had to do.
Oh, you're fine.
Lost. They were pretty big in Lost. They got another expansion in The Witch Queen. We've had several dungeons based around them and or the Taken at this point.
Yeah.
We have Crota's End. We have King's Fall. We have... oh my god. Again, I'm blanking out.
Let's see.
Crota's End, King's Fall, Ghost of the Deep. We just got Ghost of the Deep. You have the Shattered Throne. You have... The point is...
Pit of Heresy.
Pit of Heresy. The point is, there is so much Hive content in this game. I feel like we have so many seasons that focus on the Hive or on the Taken, and it feels like it's really outworn its welcome at this point.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, if you had to, like, kind of pinpoint a central, like, antagonist of Destiny, Destiny 1 really didn't have it. In the early concept art, it really felt like it was going to be the Fallen. And it wasn't. It never really was. There really was never a central antagonist to Destiny 1. But the Hive had a lot of focus in there,
Yeah.
Dark Below, The Taken King, King's Fall, Crota's End.
I mean, I feel like they
And
kind of positioned Crota and Oryx to be that eventually, but while you're playing, you don't really feel that, right? You kind of feel like the Fallen are kind of the main enemy almost.
that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you come into 2, and the base game, the base for 2, the base campaign definitely was the Cabal with Gaul. And it kind
Yeah.
of gets disjointed again, but it really feels like the Hive are like the closest thing to an actual like main adversary that we've had, especially after we formed alliances with Keitel and Mithrax, right?
Right. Yeah.
It's and like that's fine. Like they're a race basically born straight out of the Witness's power.
Yeah.
Them and the Taken. But I feel like we're at the end of their story. There isn't much more you can really do. Like how many more hive gods or like demigods can we kill at this point?
Right.
Like look how many strikes have revolved around them, dungeons, high value missions, story missions. Like how many more of these things can we possibly kill?
Yeah.
We're running out of notable hive to kill. The Cabal have basically been hunted to extinction at this point. The Elixni are bordering on extinction.
Yeah.
Like we have to pivot. We have to come up with some new enemy races, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think the next major focus is clearly going to be the Vex,
The
but
Vex.
I also think that what if Eris doesn't die? What if she goes and raises a new hive army?
That,
That would
that
be,
was that was a theory. I mean, I think we talked about that on the show a few weeks ago.
yeah,
That what if Eris is just corrupted? What if she's
yeah,
corrupted at the end? And like, I have my doubts that it's all out of her system.
yeah. To me, it's clearly not, but
It's time gated. It's time gated until post final shape.
yeah, man, I wonder if that's going to be one of the episodes. Is there a hive episode? That first one's a hive
Yep.
episode, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
The first one is Vex.
Oh, right. The second one then? I don't remember,
3.
to be honest.
It's the third one.
Okay. I
The
was
first
almost
is
there.
Vex. The second. First is Vex. Second is Scorn. Third is Hive.
Look, Josh, if I
Which
was a
I think is
baseball
like
player, that would have been a Hall of Fame batting average. Okay, 1 to 3, Hall of Fame.
I think it's good that the Hive are going to be the last episode that we get out of the final shapes here because it gives us a bit of a break from them. That's also what tells me like they probably aren't playing a huge part next season.
Yeah,
I think next season will, if we are back in the Dreaming City, I think it's going to be less Hive and it's going to be more of Taken and Scorn.
yeah,
Um,
yep.
which also the Scorn talk about a race that wasn't supposed to stick around
Mm-hmm.
and has like just continued to luck out.
Yeah,
It was clearly a way for them to keep like Elixni style enemies in play
mm-hmm.
without having to actually have the Elixni.
Yeah.
I don't know. I hope that new enemies are on deck for post final shape. Maybe for like that first major expansion after episodes. I really hope that there's more factions that are added in, like that we explore beyond Soul. Like that's always been my desire, clearly.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot there that you can do.
I mean, at this point, where haven't we been in Soul? I mean, we've done every planet except for
we can keep doing moons, but
no. Take us away. Get us out of here.
Take us to something more interesting, frankly.
Yeah. How about Andromeda? Mass Effect Andromeda went there and it was good.
Well, I mean, that's a whole other galaxy. That's a whole other thing. I'm just talking like maybe doing our system in the Milky Way.
Do it all. Who cares?
Like, there's plenty of things you can do, but we'll save that speculation for next spring. Any final thoughts on how this all wrapped up? On because the storytelling is still really good. Like, I want to be really clear. Like, the story is still good. The lore is still good. It's just this particular piece really, really needed to be something that you showed us and not expected us to go read.
Yeah, I actually think this story might be the best story of the season. But like there's the couple faults are just like you have to read that lore, and it's wrapped up so abruptly. Those are my only complaints about the game in particular, but like I think it might be the best story of the year so far, of all the seasons.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I was just kind of tired of Sloane's bullshit by like week 3 last season.
Yeah,
And Defiance never really caught me. Like, kind of by default, I feel like this is the best season,
yeah,
or the best storyline, at least, for a
yeah,
season. It's always fun to spend time with Eris, and Imaru really made this season a lot of fun.
yeah,
To me, he's so sassy and so underused. I'm really glad that we finally got him back.
yeah,
That's been fun. I've enjoyed that.
yeah,
I still think that we probably have another cutscene to go because, again, there's 3 messages. There's still a secret to be found in the Embaro engine, I'm pretty sure. The
yeah,
design this season, I think, has been out of this world. We'll wait a few weeks to talk about that, maybe post Festival of the Lost.
yeah,
Um, i.e., we need content for the rest of the season. But as we continue to find secrets in the Embaro engine, I think that's going to be a big thing also.
yeah.
So, all right. I think it's finally Schwab time, Corey.
Are you preparing yourself?
I'm preparing myself. I'm going into this blind.
That's not
I
like you,
uh
Josh.
I did not have time today to read over the Schwab. Uh well, it's starting out promising. Rahul hosts The Price is Right.
Oh God.
Oh boy. When we made exotic focusing, we spent a lot of time asking ourselves what feels fair to players of all types. We then modeled the prices after the cost of buying new exotics from the Monumental Lost Lights. It was a high price point, but by including a cheaper and more randomized option, we felt sure that, if nothing else, we wouldn't accidentally flood the game with exotics until they felt like the items were extremely common. Since then, we've had a lot of opportunities both listen to the community feedback and collect detailed data about how much players with different time commitments tried to earn and own week to week. Long story short, we saw that except for folks who play Destiny 2 a whole hell of a lot, most weeks you all weren't earning more than a few Ascendant shards a week. The players who only have a few hours to play may be earning one. Armed with that information, we've made 2 important changes to how exotic focusing is priced. First and foremost, we are eliminating the exotic cipher costs for Tier 2 focusing. Focusing was always meant to be a way for players to put in the work and pick what they want, and the slow rate at which players earn exotic ciphers works against that. Secondly, we are reducing Ascendant shard costs for both tiers of exotic focusing. Tier 2 focusing will now cost 2 shards, so most players will be able to get a few extra targeted rolls for build crafting per week if that's where they choose to spend them. Tier 1 focusing already only costs 1 shard, but we heard a lot of feedback the cost still felt steep. In all the data about materials, we also realized players don't have enough places to spend enhancement prisms in a meaningful way, so we changed the shard cost from 1 shard to 10 prisms. On the surface, the price hasn't changed much, 50,000 glimmer, but for now, it costs less than it costs to get a shard. You can get a semi-targeted exotic roll. In closing, here are the new and lower exotic focusing costs that will be implemented on October 17th. Tier 1, 30,000 glimmer and 10 enhancement prisms. Tier 2, 60,000 glimmer and 2 ascendant shards, your golf balls. Cool. I feel the pain with the prisms. There's nowhere to spend them. Nothing takes prisms. Armor takes like 3 prisms to upgrade.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I needed more places to spend prisms. Not that I'm buying a ton of exotics. I've been playing for long enough that I have rolls on most exotics that I use regularly. So I'm
yeah,
still using exotics from a couple years back.
yeah,
Unless I was trying to target like a new Star Eaters, I don't really see myself going and buying one anytime soon.
yeah,
But I hope that changes. Fingers crossed. There's a cool exotic next season that I have to have a good roll on. The Deck of Whispers, there's a post about the Deck of Whispers that they put up an individual blog post. We were kind of planning to go through that before HR Madness struck. Um, I'll let you guys go read that and how they decided to basically bring the concept of a tarot deck to life inside of a first-person shooter. It's a good read. But the big chunk here, the mid-season armor and weapons preview. I think this is going live on Tuesday, but some of the big changes include changes to Antea swords. Reflective vents now require full class ability to deploy. Following deactivation of of reflective vents, your class ability energy is drained proportional to the amount of damage reflected and no longer provides an improved slide. It was granting too large a benefit for too little a cost. It also suffered from a lack of meaningful counterplay options. By tying the damage reflection to class ability, we hope to reduce the uptime of the effect and to prevent it from easily stacking with the Juggernaut arc aspect. Antea Swords users will have to think about their engagements more carefully because opponents can exploit the times their class ability is on cooldown. Thank you, God. This has absolutely made playing high-end PvP a fucking nightmare for
yeah,
like the last season and a half.
yeah.
So thankfully that's going back. And people always forget. Antea swords have always been this annoying. It's just they forget about them until somebody publishes a YouTube video with this thing is fucking busted, and then everyone uses it for a while, and Bungie has to be like, okay, we're gonna do a nerf, and it's not really a nerf. It's just like we hope you stop using this. This is the actual first substantial like nerf to how it works that I think that we've ever gotten.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty excited for that. Yogg Ahamkara's Spine is another one that needed that. Reduce the trip mine grenade's bonus health from 100 to 70 and remove the bonus 50% damage resistance. Grenade energy is now provided on ability kills instead of damage with abilities. And I mean, hey, you needed that because I got really tired of the trip mine spam also in the Crucible.
Mm-hmm.
And it should still work pretty good in PvE for the record. Weapon balancing. SMGs. Oh boy. We're still finding many players, especially those on mouse and keyboard, see little downside to sacrificing stability to maximize range. We always want players to have a choice when it comes to what stat they want to prioritize, but those choices should have trade-offs. Until now, ignoring or even reducing stability was not seen as much of a penalty. The benefits of range far outstriped the downsides. So now we are going to make that choice a bit tougher. The goal of this change is not to make SMGs feel hard to control at base. That said, if you choose to sacrifice stability or not invest in it, you will notice the difference in controllability. Increased recoil globally by 10% and reduced mouse and keyboard stability bonus from 20 to 10%. And then here we go. This is going to excite us, Corey. Auto rifles.
Yeah, auto rifles. Give it to me. Give it to me, Josh.
Oh boy.
I need it.
We are still not happy with where adaptive and high impact auto rifles shake out compared to other ARs. We made some tweaks to separate them a bit. For rapid fire, adaptive, and precision ARs, we've reduced their aim down sight damage fall off scalar stat back to 1.6, while high impacts are left at 1.7. This should sufficiently differentiate the maximum ranges they're able to achieve and give high impacts a room to breathe over precisions, which are currently able to achieve the same range. For adaptive ARs, we weren't happy with how difficult they felt to use, so we increased their base damage and decreased their critical hit multiplier to make them more forgiving while retaining their current optimal time to kill.
Yeah.
Adaptive ARs, those are your 600s, boys and girls. It is gnawing hunger season once again.
Yeah, gnawing hunger. I still have mine.
I still have mine, and I was really hoping that I would never touch this gun again. Joe Wilson, one of his favorite guns, gnawing hunger.
Yeah. It's a good one.
We were laughing the other night, reminiscing about doing Deep Stone Crypt with Joe, and how he didn't like using swords and he didn't like using Lament. And I think that Nerd had to step in and tell him he had to start using it over Xenophage.
Yeah.
Because with Xenophage, he just wasn't dealing enough damage to anything to help us.
Was that
So it was
after the
causing us
nerf, or was that just because it shoots so slow?
Yes.
Yeah.
Both.
Yeah.
It was both because Xeno got nerfed going into
Right.
It got nerfed going into Beyond Light.
Right.
It was so powerful. But story time aside, there's some changes made to the scalars here for rapids and auto or adaptives. Precision auto rifle, specifically Amit, is going to have its zoom value reduced from 17 to 15. It's the undisputed king of all ARs for multiple reasons, including high range, ability to craft it with double enhanced consistency perks, the Amalon origin trait, and its above average zoom all contribute to the weapon feeling like there's no reason to use anything else. Reducing the zoom will make the weapon easier to use at close range, where it has stiff competitions from AR or from SMGs like Immortal and Unending Tempest, but it will make it harder to use at long range, as the accuracy will be decreased and aim assist will fall off sooner. So that's good. They're hoping that other ARs can step into that long range gap.
Yeah.
Pulse rifles. We're generally satisfied with the place that high impact pulse rifles have found themselves after the recent round of range changes. It's come at the cost of almost all other pulse rifle subfamilies, swinging heavily negative in terms of effectiveness. As such, we're making 2 changes to pulse rifles in the mid-season patch. The explicit goal is to keep high impact pulses near where they are now, while elevating other subfamilies back into contention. We'll be increasing damage fall off start at 0 range by 1 meter, which means pulse rifles with low range stats like rapid fire, lightweight, and adaptive will all see a notable benefit to their damage fallout stat distances, while pulses with higher range stats, those over 60 like him, high impact pulse rifles, will see little to no improvement. Combined with the reduction in most auto rifle ranges, we believe this change will allow the faster firing, lower range pulse rifles to find some room in the sandbox. And then with adaptive pulse rifles, um, they're wary of buffing the damage and entering into another high impact pulse rifle situation. We believe there is some room to improve comparative range due to their distinctly lower ease of use. As such, we've moved their ADS fall off scalar from 1.7 to 1.8%, which will elevate them over high impact pulses. And then there is a big chart here where you can look at fall off stat distances, base zooms, etc., and how they've changed them over the last couple seasons. There's a bunch there. Whew. I should have brought a drink with me.
You should have. I brought one, but it's gone already. So
Oh my god, I really, really should have brought one.
go get one. I could vamp for a
No,
minute.
I'm good. I'm good. I can't stand you.
I don't know why I did that.
I cannot stand you.
It's staying in. Keep it in.
Fusion rifles. Some combinations of perk and damage boosts can allow fusion rifles to operate well outside intended ranges. And in general, fusions feel like they can reach just a bit too much. So we've reduced the minimum damage after fall off from 50 to 45%. This means their damage fall off will occur more quickly once it starts and will decrease to a lower value when it currently does in live, which should reduce the instances of feeling like you were mapped well outside of expected range. Basically, they're going to stop shooting you from halfway across the map. Snipers, there's a few changes that are going to happen here. Decreased airborne accuracy penalty by 20%. They are now as accurate at base as they were pre-airborne effectiveness with an Eris mod. And aggressive sniper rifles, you are going to see decreased body shot damage from 157.5 to 135, but an increase in the critical hit multiplier from 3 to 3.5. Decreased in adaptive sniper rifles, body shot damage from 131 to 119, and rapid fires are going to see decreased body shot damage from 90 to 85, and they're increasing the critical hit multipliers on all of these by about 0.5%. Shotguns. Corey, you like shotguns?
I love shotguns, man.
Like snipers, we want to make shotguns with minimum airborne effectiveness investment feel more useful, so we have matched the base in-air accuracy of slug shotties to what they were pre-airborne effectiveness with an Eris mod. Pellet shotties are in a bit of a unique situation, as pre-airborne effectiveness they had a substantial accuracy penalty, which would deflect the entire pellet spread. We have since removed that entirely and replaced it with an increased spread angle, so that the effect of jumping on the weapon's behavior would be more predictable. And as it stands currently, their actual accuracy is the same as it is on the ground and cannot be improved. But to be fair to them, we have decreased the pellet spread penalty by 20%. So, decrease the airborne accuracy penalty for precision slug shotguns by 20%, and decrease the airborne pellet spread penalty for pellet shotties by 20%. Perks. Perfect Float has strong benefit, but the duration was too short for something that just improves stats and requires extended combat. Base duration extended from 6 to 10 seconds, and extended duration from 7 to 12. And Kickstart. Kickstart is one of the most popular damage perks on fusion rifles, and it allows them to have both a substantial damage buff and faster charge time without a difficult activation cost. So we reduced the damage bonus provided by Kickstart from 20% to 15%. We're here. We're almost here at the end.
Almost
Checkmate.
there.
We have some minor tuning coming for Checkmate control, including increasing the score to win from 100 to 125. Good. And decreasing the frequency of heavy ammo spawns from 90 seconds to 180 seconds. Also good. Those are the two biggest complaints. I do think they're still going to have to adjust the score. I suspect that'll probably still go to maybe 150 is where they'll rest on it.
Yeah.
But the heavy ammo change especially just
Love
sounds
it.
great. Future stuff. In Season 23, we have a host of PvE tuning changes. We don't want to share too many specifics because some things still have the possibility of shifting during testing, but the sneak peek: increased base PvE damage for glaive projectiles and sniper rifles, increased damage against minor combatants for pulse rifles and auto rifles, greatly increased damage against champions for Revision 0 and Vex Mythoclast. We're also very excited to finally get the glaive rework into your hands, including some changes we've made to the exotic class glaives to make them more effective and enjoyable to use. Great. I love glaives.
Yes.
This is exciting.
I'm so excited. I love a good glaive, Josh.
I love a good glaive as well, and I'm very excited that Revision 0 and Vex are going to do more. I think that, like, for champs, I think exotics should do more damage, frankly. I think just by nature of, you're taking up a whole slot with them, I think that they
Yeah.
should do a bit more damage.
And the fact
I got
that
no
you're
problem with that.
wasting an exotic on a glaive, right? Too. I mean, no offense, but I don't even
I
remember the
mean,
last time I used an exotic glaive, right? I mean,
I can't tell you the last time I used an exotic glaive outside of Winterbite.
yeah.
Winterbite's really fun. And I think that's gonna about do it for our TWAB this week.
Small
The only other
twab.
stuff here, small TWAB, but there's some cutscenes getting added to the archive that they have on YouTube. Why these archives are not in game, I will never understand. But seasons 10, 11, and 12, which for those keeping track at home are Worthy, Arrivals, and Hunt, as well as Deep, are being added to the YouTube channel. So
Man,
yeah, it only took us like 3.5 years to get that stuff put on a YouTube page.
I don't. I I'm with you. I don't understand why this isn't in the game.
That was my biggest hope with the timeline feature, was that when they're like, yeah, we're gonna have a way to view the witness cutscene going forward. I was like, oh, thank God, we're at least getting a theater mode. Nope, they literally meant that one cutscene.
Yeah.
They literally meant, here you go.
It has to it's got to be it's got to have something to do with the code, right? I mean, I
I
I just
dude, at this point, I have no idea. I don't think it has anything to do with the code and everything to do with they just don't want to do
I
it for
just
some
I
reason.
mean, I get that they're prioritizing a lot of stuff, right? But like
Yeah.
if you're heading into your final expansion
Yep.
for a while, you should maybe prioritize a little bit of the story at least to like
I
catch
should be
people up.
able to see the cutscenes that have happened at least since the beginning of Destiny 2 here to
Hmm.
understand the story going into the final shape.
Yeah.
Even if you just want to give me those sketched ones, like I should have several of them.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Okay, we only have a couple questions tonight, Corey.
I know.
This is
They didn't like they were
second.
scared of me. I said
I think everybody was scared of you, but also I don't know if people get pinged inside of the threads. I'm going to be honest. I did not, for what it
maybe.
was worth. I did not get a ping from inside that thread when you tagged everyone.
Huh. Okay. Well,
Rustic Wing asks, my question is, why is my catalyst not showing up? And he's talking about the Necrochasm catalyst. I have honestly no idea. There's so much fuckery that's happened around with this raid, like specifically with the 48 hour stuff.
mhm.
If I just like, I obviously I don't know your exact situation. I would
Yeah.
say maybe if it was tied to that, that could be part of it. I know it says that Essence of the Oversoul has been collected. Have you finished the entire quest associated with it? I don't know if maybe that just pops
Yeah.
when you initially earn it,
That was
or
my
what.
that was my
It's
thing.
clearly not showing up on the empty catalyst socket here for my man. So
Yeah.
um,
That
that would be my question. It says, like, if I can Sherlock Holmes this for a second, it does show no enemies defeated. Maybe did you just now get your Necrochasm? That could be it. You might have to finish the associated quest to get it to show up.
yeah.
That would be my guess.
That was going to be my first question.
So I don't know, but try, maybe check that. Sometimes the simplest solution is the one. If not, definitely that is something you should reach out and ask Bungie help about.
Mhm.
You can go to the forums and do that, because yeah, I can't, I unfortunately cannot perform triage on your collections from a podcast.
Give us your login information. Give us your password, give us your username, your
Give me $500 in silver right now, and the Saint 14 helmet
Oh
statue.
my god, I want that thing so bad. I've Andre sent that to me earlier today and I was like, "Oh my god, you got to be kidding me."
Jiggly Panda writes in as always and asks, if you could make your ghost voiced by anyone other than Nolan North, who would it be? Peter Dinklage, baby. Peter
Hmm.
Dinklage. I need Dinklebot back.
This
He's
is
old, he's frumpy. I like to imagine that my ghost would kick back and have a cigar with me. Peter Dinklage seems like the kind of guy who would do that. Also, Idris Elba, just because I've played a lot of Phantom Liberty lately and I need more Idris Elba in my life.
also he's fucking cool,
He's fucking cool.
man.
My ghost would like show up with a trench coat on. It'd be awesome.
Yeah. God, he's fucking cool.
He's fucking cool.
Um man, I don't know who I'd want my ghost to. I mean, I feel like the Morgan Freeman answer is played out. right? I feel like that's
Yeah,
pretty played out.
100%.
I feel like you got to have some sort of like comedian, someone who's funny to, like at least can deliver the lines that way. Because Ghost kind of has that weird kind of, haha, it's funny but not delivery. Man, I don't know, man, dude. I don't know why this popped into my head. What if Ray Romano voiced your Ghost?
Oh my god.
Guardian, you gotta,
Guardian down!
you gotta fight Savathun, Deborah.
Oh, jeez. That'd be pretty bad.
Oh man, I don't know. I like the Idris Elba answer though.
Idris Elba, man. Idris Elba forever.
Yeah, he's fucking cool, man.
When Outbreak eventually comes back and becomes craftable, how fast do you think it will break the game? So here I continue to be skeptical if this and Whisper will ever become craftable. And this is why, because I think the weapons are so unique on their own
Yeah,
that I don't know if they're going to be craftable. It's not like the other ones where, oh, we're adding perks onto something that's already like, got a unique perk. We're just adding like some basic perks and like shaking them up with the catalysts.
yeah,
I think with how Outbreak and Whisper perform are already so different than other exotics
yeah,
that I don't know if they're going to become craftable. I know they've said that when those missions are going to come back and that their intent is that every exotic is going to be craftable. I don't know if they're going to do it with those two in particular.
yeah. I
Um
I agree, especially
I think that's a really tightrope to walk personally.
yeah, especially like Outbreak, right? Because I mean, it's already got the Siva perk. It's already like
It's
arguably one
already
best
it's
primary in the
probably
game.
it's probably the most stable pulse in the game.
Yeah,
It has such a little recoil. It has great stability. It's one of the best exotics you can tell a newbie to go get.
yeah,
It's still perfectly serviceable, and I mean and it also has the perk built into it where the more people using it, the more powerful it becomes.
yeah.
So I really don't know if there's going to be too much more that they'll do with Outbreak personally.
Hmm.
Um, maybe if the stability or like the recoil was really crappy, maybe like, oh, that could be one of the mods you get for it or something. I have no idea what we're going to do here, sadly.
Yeah,
But the question is, if it becomes craftable, it's 100% breaking the game day one.
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
100%. Like to the point where they're going to have to take it out of the game for like 2 months to fix it.
yeah. And then they're gonna nerf it, and then everybody's gonna be mad,
Yeah,
and it's
and
just
nobody's going to be happy about it.
yeah,
Shade Slayer writes in, do you
Shade
think we'll
Slate.
see more weapons of hope that work with boots of the assembler like Lumina does? So it's the only weapon of hope right now, to my knowledge. I really do hope that we get more. In fact, I actually have a theory after you asked this question that the Traveler cannon that they're teasing, I think that's going to be one. That seems like a pretty obvious choice to me.
Yeah,
I would like to see a few to kind of balance out the weapons of sorrow. I would really like to see more things like that, like things that like buff your team when you're using them.
yeah,
Could be weapons of light. I know the weapons of sorrow are directly tied to the hive, whatever. I don't think they need to be like reclaimed versions of hive weapons or anything. But the traveler cannon would be a really cool place to start with this.
yeah,
And he also says we have a lot of weapons of sorrow that work with necrotic grips, so maybe a whole lore type for them. I would love that. I would love that it's weapons that the traveler has bestowed upon us.
yeah,
I think this would be a really cool like subtext
yeah,
for what we're doing in both the Pale Heart and maybe even in like Zer's realm in Dares of Eternity. I think that those would be two really cool realms to explore to get these weapons of hope, quote unquote. And what better time than the finale of the saga when we need them the most? We're inside the Traveler. We're inside the Travelocy, man. We need them. We need them.
yeah.
I so help me God if they reclassify Ace of Spades as it, I might actually scream. You know, I'm so fucking tired of Ace of Spades.
They might.
They probably will, knowing my luck now that I mentioned it. And our last question of the night comes to us from Sammy Gobo. What is your theory on how we're getting through the portal and the Traveler? I want to know all the juicy theories. Baby Ahamkara. Baby Ahamkara. Drifter is going to ride a Baby Ahamkara through the Travelocy. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. Eris is going to steer the derelict in for us. But no, Drifter is totally going to lead the army riding on the back of a baby Ahamkara, baby Wish Dragon.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, I really do think that it involves. I really do think it involves an Ahamkara and the final wish.
Yeah.
We forget that Savathun she was the person who wished the last wish of the raid, the titular last wish raid. Like that's her. She started the whole cycle in the Dreaming City. The Truth to Power book, I recommend everybody read that. Those are messages from Savathun trying to influence the Guardian.
Mm-hmm.
Really would recommend reading some of those. I haven't delved too much into it, but I've heard, through some communities, I'm a part of some lore communities, that there's some hints in there that kind of hint towards us having to use an Ahamkara at some point. I think actually encountering a real wish dragon that's not corrupted like Riven was would
Mm-hmm.
be such an amazing moment to cap off the journey to the final shape with, even
Yeah.
if it's a little baby one. I think it being a little baby one would be even better, given Mara and Uldren's relationship with Riven.
Yeah.
So that could be a really cool. That could be a really cool, like, kind of full circle moment for Crow also.
Yeah.
Because I suspect he has a role to play in this final season.
Yeah.
Um, I would like that. That's my personal hope at this point, and that kind of feels like the only way that it can happen. Savathun doesn't expressly tell us about anything or how to get through it, so because she speaks in riddles, and we've got one season to go.
Yeah.
So the most wacky explanation is probably what it is.
Yeah.
Um,
You think the Ahamkara is gonna kill the witness? You think the
no.
Ahamkara is gonna eat the witness? Just
I'll put it this way: if I don't get an option to just beat his ass relentlessly with a sword,
yeah.
this has all been for nothing.
Yeah.
I really want him to just like fall down and like the final damage moment be like kind of like Rolk. You have like 15 seconds to do as much damage as you possibly can, and I hope it's just us beating him 7 days to Sunday.
Yeah.
I just want to beat his ass down. Part of me really hopes they just take my weapons away and you just beat the shit out of him with your fists.
Yeah.
That would be really rewarding for me.
Yeah. I wonder if you like in the final.
I will also accept the little baby wish dragon riding in my cockpit with me.
Yeah. I also wonder if like when the witness finally dies, like he just explodes into like darkness. You think he'll explode like into darkness, just this black smoke everywhere?
I think he'll be like black smoke and it'll just like dissipate like he never existed in the first place. This is a whole race.
Yeah.
So I would like for us in like future narratives to find that maybe not every one of the witnesses race went along with this.
Yeah.
Or the revelation that maybe Zur was a part of that race at one point.
Oh, that's
and he like this was like the punishment that was inflicted on him by not going along with it.
Yeah, that's
maybe the nine were originally part of that race.
Yeah, like if there was like some sort of like leadership group and the witness was like the I don't know, president of the group, and like they all
like the 9 of them refused to drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I think that could be kind of cool. I would really love for the 9 to help us get through the portal. Like that's clearly a mystery they're saving for later on, if ever.
Yeah.
Like I think that's so low on the list of priorities for them to tackle.
Yeah.
We thought they were going to when Paladin Orin was being brought into all of it.
Yeah.
And that was really frustrating and upsetting that we didn't really cross that. I also feel like Osiris is going to have to be a part of this because I think Osiris may actually have the knowledge of this, considering she was in his head and he's shown that he still has a connection to her memories.
Yeah.
Given, we have to go to Neomuna. We have to go to Neptune.
Yeah.
And he's tapped into those before, so if he remembers anything else, like we would be wise to just listen to him. And considering we have like 8 weeks of story remaining before the final shape, like it would be wise to listen to Osiris right now.
Yeah.
Who is the dungeon boss? Who are we gonna off at the beginning of a season, right before the final expansion?
I mean, it could be. What if it's what do you say the first season was? It's or the first episode is
Vex.
Vex.
It's Vex.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder. Yeah, and the second one is Scorn. You said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, if Eris is not herself, you could fight Eris, I guess.
Ew.
Or I mean, if we don't fight Zivu Arath, maybe Zivu Arath is who you fight. I don't know.
Man, if we off Zivu Arath that easily, I'm gonna be so mad. Nothing is gonna please me at this point, Corey.
I know.
What do you think we do to get through the Travelussi?
Man, I think there's going to be some sort of ritual, and like Mara is clearly going to be involved with this
Yeah.
ritual. Um, maybe that is her last. Like maybe the final wish is her in the Ahamkara. I think she's going to have to work with. Maybe Osiris knows about some sort of ritual too. Maybe he's been studying
Mm-hmm.
it or found something out somewhere. Like, man, I think that that's what's going to happen. There's going to be some sort of ritual, and everybody has to be like involved or something. Or maybe Ikora and Zavala know something too, and like maybe that's why they're not. I don't know. I mean, Zavala stays behind, right? No, they showed him in the trailer. I don't know, man. I think there's going to be some sort of ritual. Mara's involved. This Ahamkara egg is involved. Maybe Osiris is involved. I think that's what you got to
Yeah.
look at, and because clearly Zavala and Ikor are going in with us at some point. So
Yeah, I feel like Osiris wants to go in so badly, and Saint's gonna be like, no.
yeah, because I mean, it's just so corrupt in there, obviously, and warped, and like has no ghost. So probably the smart thing to do would be to
I mean, maybe
stay
he meets
behind.
Segura again.
Yeah, that's another thing too. If Cade can come back, you think some of the dead ghosts can come back?
But I don't know. That would be an interesting question because we haven't seen Sundance yet.
Yeah,
If we see Sundance, then I think that answers the question.
yeah,
I really do think it's just going to be like the spirits of like dead guardians.
yeah,
It would be cool to finally meet like some of the ones that we know have been sacrificed like during the story. Like who's the one from Savathun song? Takeo 3. Would be
yeah,
cool to finally encounter. I think it'd be funny to like get confirmation that yeah, this is where fucking Brother Vance has been for like 3 years now.
yeah.
Like
God,
he did actually die. Here's Brother Vance just chilling.
he's
God,
there right when you get
Cade would
there.
hate himself. Cade's gonna hate himself. He's been stuck in eternity with fucking Brother
Oh my
Vance.
God. Oh man, Brother Vance. What if he's there right when you get there and he like directs you? What if he's the
Bro,
vendor?
if Brother Vance is the vendor, I might actually file like crimes. I might have to just like sue Bungie for crimes, frankly.
File crimes. Oh man, Josh, that's funny. Oh, it's crazy that we only have 8 weeks of story left. Like, I mean, I wonder if there's going to be like an
Yeah,
epilogue week. You think there'll be an epilogue week this season? I
I
don't.
think there has to be.
Yeah,
I think there has to absolutely be something in the last couple weeks. I think they're saving something for after Festival of the Lost, and thank God they didn't save this until after. I'm really glad they did this now, but I mean, there's 3 more radio messages and there's a lore piece that hints to me that there's going to be something. Maybe it's just puzzles in the Embargo engine. That would be a cool device to use a little bit more. I know there's technically 2 tests right now.
hmm
They've hinted at secrets being in there. I don't think that there's some hidden exotic before anybody starts asking. Maybe there's like a ghost shell or a ship tied to it, but that's going to be about it.
yeah,
I think they're taking a season off from exotic weapons right now. I actually wouldn't be surprised that there isn't one next season either, frankly,
uh huh,
because they've said they had to push some of the work they were doing on the health of the playlists back to get other things done,
hmm
and if they want that done before final shape.
yeah,
Fire Team Finder is also launching next season, so I imagine that a lot of the resources are being spent on that. The dungeon, they've updated. They got the exotic mission rotator up and running this season. I imagine the same team probably got to work on that.
hmm
And if they're trying to figure out how they're going to bring, Outbreak and Whisper forward, and like what weapons do we put in there, etc. Like, yeah, I can kind of understand why why we might not get an exotic mission until the expansion at this point.
yeah.
We're closing in, Corey.
It's almost here, man.
we're about 4 months away. We're 4 months and some change away.
Yep.
So it's going to be real busy between now and then. I'm hoping to get a bunch of Festival of the Lost in. I guess it's not starting next week since we didn't get a preview in the TWAB this week.
Yeah.
I really thought it was going to start next week.
Yeah. I when they said mid look at the mid mid season
Mid-season.
preview, I thought that was gonna be part of it.
So, like, I guess I kind of get it. We talked about this a few times, and I always forget what we say. The 17th is probably the most likely start date now. So that way you get 2 full weeks leading into Halloween, and then you get Halloween with the week after
Yeah.
being a part of it also.
Mm-hmm.
So for a 3 week event, that would make sense. I don't remember when the next season is supposed to start, but that would kind of line up with giving us 3 more radio messages after.
Mm-hmm.
The room would be there for it. I imagine they want all narrative stuff wrapped before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That would just be my guess, and then come back from Thanksgiving to launch the new season and probably drop that dungeon on December 1st would be
Mm-hmm.
my guess.
Yeah.
Um, Also, to launch it before the first night of Hanukkah and after Thanksgiving. That's kind of like the only way you can squeeze it in is right there.
Yeah.
Um, So, not that they wouldn't launch it on Hanukkah, but I know, that we just got done talking about how this company tries to be inclusive and try to be, respectful of all walks and ways of life, and I don't think they want potentially having to have people come into work on the first night of Hanukkah because the dungeon's not working.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
so
you could have. I mean, you could have. I mean, you could have like some non-Jewish employees come in. I guess.
they're called Gentiles, Corey.
Whatever.
I know this because I paid attention in church once in a while.
Hmm. By the way, have you seen some of them crazy church Instagram reels?
Unfortunately,
Oh man, you don't want some spiritual milk?
no,
Oh, you need to look up that
I'm good.
YouTube video. It's funny.
I'm good. I've seen enough weird. I've seen enough weird religious shit in my life. I don't really need to see anymore. We're entering a really busy time.
Yeah.
If anybody's wondering why the episodes may be a little short for the rest of the month, because there's not a whole lot of story. It's Festival of the Lost time.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much other stuff to consume right now too.
Yeah.
Um, I think we're getting to the point where this might be the latest into a season that I've ever been working on a season pass. I'm
Yeah.
like 75 in my season pass. They sent out an email tonight saying what your level is and where you are on your Arcana quests and stuff.
Yeah.
My title's almost wrapped. I need to do one more Embaro test and then I'm done.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, Starfield and Cyberpunk have both been completed. I'm looking forward to Spider-Man's coming out in 2 weeks. 2 weeks
Yeah.
from the time this episode posts is when Spider-Man comes out. So
Man,
that's going to be pretty busy.
is it really that
And
close?
it really is. It comes out on the 20th.
Man.
Friday the 20th is Spider-Man 2 and New Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Yeah, Mario Wonder. And Sonic is that
Uh,
week too.
Sonic is that week, and then the following week is Alan Wake 2.
I know. I just beat
Uh,
Alan Wake 1.
oh, God, one of my all-time favorite cult classics.
Oh, I'm
I
going to
love
go
that
ahead
game.
and save my opinion and say it's definitely not one of mine.
Well, fuck you, buddy.
I'm working on
It's also a
the
game that's like 13 years old and was showing its age when it came out. So,
yeah, I know. It I'm
uh,
playing the DLC now. So the special episodes on the remaster, so
when you God, I completely forgot about those. I thought you were talking about the Xbox Live Arcade game that came out like 2 years after
oh,
American
American
Nightmare.
Nightmare?
Oh, it's fucking great. I love it. I love
Oh no.
American Nightmare. I love Remedy games. I look for. I will talk about Alan Wake on the show at some point.
I
Maybe next week we'll talk a little Cyberpunk. But
see I like Control and Quantum Break in Max Payne, but not Alan Wake apparently.
I mean that's fine. Alan Wake is definitely like Alan Wake is horror,
Yeah.
so it definitely skews more towards that. I'm really excited for 2 though. Alan Wake 2 and Spider-Man 2 are my last 2 like super must plays. They're the last 2 games I'm buying this year. I'll put it that way.
Hmm.
That I haven't already ordered because I have Mario RPG redeemed with my digital code from my Tears of the Kingdom package.
Mm-hmm.
And Mario Wonder is not happening until at least Christmas.
Yeah. I mean, that's a game that you could always just. It's not.
It's a Christmas present for Chelsea.
Yeah. So also
Um,
a Christmas present for Josh.
no, Josh's Christmas present is arriving in early November. I will be purchasing a Steam Deck,
Ooh.
and I will be getting either a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally in early November, and I will be playing Baldur's Gate for the next 3 months after that.
Hmm.
My goal is to start playing Baldur's partway through November, and hopefully wrap a playthrough up before Persona 3 Reload comes out.
But Josh, you could get it on PlayStation 5 right now and order a PlayStation Portal and play it handheld mode.
I will not be doing that. I will not be playing. I will not be playing it like that. This is a game that I want to play with friends who have it on Steam. Is the problem?
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to have to buy a second copy to play with me.
Yeah.
All my friends have games on Steam already, and have graciously agreed to do another run through with me. So I will be playing Baldur's Gate with them, and I will not. This is not a game I will be 100%ing.
Yeah.
I will be simply playing through, and then I will do a much more casual playthrough next year. But
You
for
mean
the
you
sake
don't
of
want to
Game of the
see
Year,
all 1,783 endings or whatever
I
that
would
number
actually
was?
love to, because that's a game that sounds tailor made for my completionist heart. But to keep my sanity intact, it will not happen. I'm already having enough trouble figuring out how I'm going to manage next February. Um, for those who do not know my plight, next February, next February is Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and the Final Shape.
That's a Josh lineup right there.
That's a Josh lineup. I'm actually really terrified because let me tell you guys, Persona 3 Reload is not the game I needed a whole month with no interruptions. That was Rebirth. I needed a whole month with Rebirth with nothing else coming out. And on top of that, Nintendo was like, "Hey Josh, we know you're the weirdo who likes all these cult classics. You're the guy who was excited when we said the words Famicom Detective Club. Here's
Yeah.
Trace Memory ported to the Switch for you, and we're gonna drop that on Valentine's for you."
Yep.
It's a problem, Corey. It's an epidemic.
Yeah. He's sorry, Josh. That's all I can say.
Oh my god, get me out of here. Get me out of here, Corey.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. Remember to join the Discord. I don't know. I don't have anything else to say. Josh, where can we find you?
Twitter. I'm still holding it down. At Josh_Finn, 2 N's.
Holding it down.
Probably really upset about this week's ending still, and probably talking about Cyberpunk a lot.
Mm.
We will be talking Cyberpunk on Xbox Casuals on Monday.
Yes. Along with a bunch of other things, apparently, that
A bunch of other things.
mostly probably layoffs, but
Probably.
gross. Anyways, you can find me on I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, rate us, review us on podcast services, and all that stuff. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. Until next time, we love you. Goodbye.